Good afternoon. My name is Colin Koh from LKH Precicon. We are now entering into a digital transformations, and you know that it's very volatile, very uncertain, it's very complex, as well as very ambiguous. So how we navigate this? So basically, you need to learn from the past, understand the present, and visualize the futures. So in order to encounter all this, you require visions, you require good communications, you need to set very clear goal, as well as you need to really train your workforce so that they can become very agile. Managing all this is equivalent to managing change, right? So imagine that in Industry 3.0, we always advocate continuous improvement, and that doesn't work anymore because we are entering into Industry 4.0, and that required radical change. So in Japan, during the Industry 3.0, they are talking about Kaizen, meaning continuous improvement. But now they have changed their mind, say that Kaizen is not enough. You need to go into Kaikaku, which is Mandarin is called Kaike. So as I mentioned, when you do your planning as a business and you need to managing all this change, you need to consider other aspects. So for instance, you need to look at the political aspect. For instance, you know that the last couple of years, the US and China, a lot of political conflict, and that actually affect into the economy. So for instance, the trade war will come in. Another aspect is also you need to look at some of the country. For instance, Singapore, we are already entering into aging population. So socially, we need to be sensitive, how to deploy our human resource. Of course, you talk about Industry 4.0, this is where the technologies come in. So you hear a lot of AI, machine learning, digital twin, robotics, blockchain, 5G. These are technology that you need to take into consideration as well. Recently, you also know that the big topic is the climate change, right? So that is environmental factors. So when you do your business planning, that factor you have to also consider. Last one is the legal. I think in the past, SME, we don't really bother about legal aspect. But as you know that when you start to do your business online in digital format, let's say you launch your website, you launch your e-commerce, you start to collect the data from your consumer or your customer. You have to observe the legal aspect, for instance, the privacy, the data sharing aspect. So these are the issues SME in the past did not pay attention. But I think the digital economy actually is connected. So a lot of this impact will start to surface. So all these are the factors. I'm sure not only the big company and NMC, they already taken into account, but I think as a SME, you are not going to run away because you will be plugged into the supply chain, and all this will be the consideration you need to take in the next couple of years. Especially you want to implement the digital transformation, or as a manufacturing company, you want to make your factory become smarter. So I like to recommend this framework, which is not new, but I think it's relevant now. So to managing a successful change, you need a couple of components. First thing first is, as a leader or as a management, you need to have a vision of how you want to run the plant, or eventually how your product going to be, right? Who are your customers? So this is a vision you need to craft out. That is not enough. You need to ensure that your workforce have the skill set to deal with all this uncertainty. After that, you have to make sure that your workforce are also incentivized, because everybody will ask why you do all this change. As a management, I think we don't do lip service. You need to provide also the resources to ensure your projects and all the things that you want to put into the shop floor. For instance, can be technology, can be new machines, right? So these are the resources you need to budget in your planning. Of course, the last one is, with all this, you need to have a very good plan. So, for instance, Singapore, I think we have come out a very good framework, which is Siri. You can make use of series to do a planning. I'm sure the series can cover most of the requirement that you need. So I think this is something that we want to advocate, that you try to understand series framework a bit more. Okay, so what is Industry 4.0? So you hear a lot, automation, connectivity, IoT, big data. To me, I think not all of these are new technologies. For instance, robotics, for instance, edge computing, connectivity, all these are already in place. But some are new technology, for instance, the blockchain, the IoT, and cybersecurity. These are the new things. So it consists of both old and new technology. But the old technology now is being enhanced because the last 10 years, that the dropping cost in terms of computing power, in terms of storage, and also in terms of the connectivity. So Industry 4.0 will be using all this technology that you can embrace, right? So it depends on your company's requirement, not all the technology you need to implement. You select those that are relevant to you. So I want to go through briefly the past almost 270 years, the history of Industrial Revolution. So the first revolution is actually happened in UK, right? It lasted almost 90 years with the invention or discovery of the steam engine, right? And that will actually do a lot of this mechanization that in a way that take a lot of this labor effort from the productions. And after that, the second industrial revolution actually happened in US, right? What happened is during that time, they have actually discovered how to find a new energy, for instance, the oil, and they also invented the electricity. The third revolution actually is we are talking about the automation. The reason is because during that period, the invention of, for instance, the PLCs and also the information technologies start to introduce in the shop floor. So automation is started during that period. And those countries that actually embrace this technology, for instance, Japan, Germany, and maybe the last 20, 30 years is China. So we are now coming into the Industrial 4 revolution. Who will take the lead? Still unclear, but I think good news is for a lot of small and medium-sized companies, you are able to use a lot of these new tools, which is in the past only available to big company. Okay, I mentioned that there's a tools that the SME or even the big company now, they are using this tool. It's called Singapore Smart Industry Readiness Index, or we call it SIRI. Right? It developed in 2017. It's almost 4 years old. It's quite matured. So the series help you to understand your plant better. So for instance, you can do a self-assessment in terms of maturity of your plant, right? So you're looking at the processes, you're looking at the technology, you're looking at your organizational structure. So these are the step-by-step guide that you can follow. And you no need to engage this so-called professional series assessors. You can also have your people to understand from this series framework from the website. I think there's a very comprehensive website that our government have put on the so-called the digital space that you all can learn. So I think this is a very good framework that you all can start with. Unlike Industry 3.0, there's no framework. So each company are implementing their own standard and also their own methodologies. Okay, I want to go into what's the difference between the Industry 3.0 and Industry 4.0. Industry 3.0, many a times we see they only implement factory automation within the factory, and also Some are very vertically integrated, some are still not. So those not in the industry 3.0, meaning they are still doing a lot of this point automation, or we call it island automations. But in order to go into industry 4.0, we are looking at the total supply chain, meaning your plant is not standalone. Actually, your plant is part of the supply chain. So you need to look at your supply side, your suppliers, your internal productions, your outgoing, for instance, your warehouse, your logistic partner, your channel, and at the end is your customer. So Industry 4.0 allows you to have an end-to-end business processes. So that is the difference between the Industry 3.0 and 4.0. So Singapore government have actually released a couple of the documents other than the first one, the series. They also introduced the prioritizations kind of documentation that help you to do how you prioritize your projects. For instance, you want to do your Industry 4.0 in the next 6 months or next 3 years. There is a prioritizations that you can actually adopt, help you to understand which project you should invest first. For instance, when you invest this POC or this project, is it going to impact on your business? So you know that your business only consists of three components: your revenue, your cost, and your profit. So when you do all these projects, you have to know that which project, when you launch it, you are able to have maximum impact and minimum investment. This is a visualization of the smart manufacturing ecosystem. So if you look at all this, so you look at the, for instance, your whole supply chain, right? You have a logistic, right? Incoming, outgoing. You have a manufacturing where you put all your automation technologies, you put all your software, and how you engage your customer on the other end. And a lot of this new technology like cloud computing, you know, the cyber security, big data, all this technology in the past was very expensive. But I think as years go by, all these have become a very easy to use, very friendly tools that you can adopt. So in order to do all this, so as I mentioned that during the Industry 3.0, one of the very successful country actually is Japan. So if you look at Japan, the way they do their manufacturing, there is a very, very strong culture. Their culture is how to improve the plant, how to improve the safety, how to improve the efficiency, and how to ensure that the product that turns out from the factory is of the highest quality. And all this required a very strong culture. So Industry 4.0 is no different. So if you think that you want to develop an Industry 4.0 or smart factory, you really need to have a very strong culture. So as I said that those change management components have to be in place. Follow those easy to use framework like Siri. And you need to really communicate very frequently, right? Both internally as well as with your partner. They can be your supply chain partner. They can be maybe educational partner. They can be maybe government agencies. So communication with all these stakeholders is very important. So you need to have this strong culture that I think that will help you in terms of moving into a successful Industry 4.0 journey. So as I said that this is a roadmap. So if you look at that, we always advocate that you must have your vision. What you have to explain to your workforce, you know, maybe 3 to 5 years time, your factory will look like this. So you need to have a plan, right? So use series, you can have a plan, like 3 to 5 years plan, and all the project you can line up based on the impact, based on ROI. But you don't need to throw in a lot of money. You can start small, but make sure that this small will be successful and they're able to scale up. And you have to move very fast. So when you move fast, you make mistake. So you also fail fast. So I think these are the few components together with the managing change. So I'm sure that this is something that a lot of SME can adopt. Okay, thank you very much. I hope I have shared something with all of you and also with the rest of the speaker. And hopefully that we learn from each other. And I'm sure that with all this framework, with all these toolkits, as well as the government support, I think Singapore government have given a lot of support to ensure that our SME manufacturing industry will be prosperous. Of course, our government have a vision, right? By 2030, our manufacturing GDP will have another 50% growth. It's possible, provided that all the SME are able to follow the proper step, and given the government giving them the toolkits, and also with all the stakeholders and the suppliers and vendors that are around you, if they are able to share your dreams, I'm sure you can have a smart manufacturing 4.0 in maybe the next 3 years or 5 years. Thank you very much.